Welcome to the DooDoo Diva Smells Like Money podcast. I'm your host, Suzan Chin-Taylor, CEO and founder of Creative Raven, the firm that helps wastewater industry contractors and manufacturers unlock the power of digital marketing, AI, and PR to boost sales and opportunities. Whether it's through our online marketing and lead generation programs or providing a fully outsourced marketing department, we are passionate about helping businesses in the wastewater and civil infrastructure sectors not just survive, but thrive in today's digital world. Each episode, I'll be bringing you expert tips and strategies to help you grow and succeed. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the DooDoo Diva Smells Like Money podcast. Today, we are visiting with Allison DePaoli, who is the founder of Altiqe Consulting. And this ties in really well with the fact that we do talk about smelling like money, because we are going to talk about something kind of related to money. Now, for those of you in the public sector, this might not apply, but for any of you that are manufacturers, technology providers, small entrepreneurs, contractors, business owners, this is something you really want to pay attention to, because I learned some things about healthcare benefits and our options that I was not even aware that existed. And even though smaller companies may have not as many choices as the big guns, you still have some options that you may not have been aware of that are affordable, that give you lots of options to really take care of the people in your business, because we all know that your people are the biggest assets, because without them, you wouldn't be able to make money or do the things that you do. And so with that, I am going to turn the floor over to Allison to tell us a little bit about benefits and little known things that you might not have known. So with that, welcome to the show, Allison.
So thank you for having me. We had such a lovely conversation earlier, so I hope we continue that conversation.
Absolutely.
So I've been in the employee benefits space my whole life in several different aspects. And one of the things that I hear quite regularly from employers of mid-sized businesses, and that may be 10 or 25 or 50 employees, where this is a little bit more true, but 50 and 100 and 200 and 500 life employers also, is that they're too small to control their health insurance costs. And that isn't true. We hear that a lot, right? Oh, you have terrible claims, you have this, you have that. Well, we specialize in terrible claims, first off.
Oh, wow.
And, the only thing that matters in health insurance is controlling the frequency and severity of claims. You control the frequency by making health care access, which is different than health insurance, as easy and affordable as you can. And then you control severity by controlling what you pay for medications, for surgeries, for whatever. And by your consultant should be doing that. I'm going to give you some questions to ask, but your consultant should be doing that for you. We're implementing a case right now, and we won the case because they're paying $16,000 for a medication that I can get for $7,000. That alone will save them about $80,000, almost $90,000 a year.
Wow.
And that employer has just under 100 employees enrolled on the plan. That's meaningful dollars.
Oh, absolutely.
So we can do all kinds of things like that. And one of the other areas where your health insurance can help you is if you are a manufacturing facility or in the construction industry or in the people who make the roads and dig the tunnels and lay the water pipes. Workers' comp is a huge issue for you when you can control your health costs and extend some of the things that you're doing in your health insurance plan to your workers' comp arena. Then you are saving money on workers' comp, both productivity money, right? People not leaving your job site or people going to one place and coming right back, or virtual care for some of the minor stuff, then you're lowering your workers' comp mod. And oftentimes that is a bigger savings than in the health insurance pie.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. So you were saying that, when we talked about offline for the smaller employers, that we aren't stuck
No.
with, or, if you're self-employed like myself, where, I had to go through, obviously I'm on that other side now where, I'm proud to say that I finally earned my Medicare benefits, that I'm now on that other side, but now you've got supplemental.
Hmm.
And that having to buy as a small, employer with only myself and one other employee, having to go to the healthcare marketplace,
Hmm.
or you
Lovely
only had the
experience.
small plans available that were, the premiums were through the roof and had huge deductibles and gave you very, very little on benefits, but you felt like, well, I'm only one person or two people. And there's many entrepreneurs that are tuning into the show, plumbing contractors, smaller manufacturers, that they maybe only have five employees and they feel like, wow, well, that's all. I'm stuck with the Blue Cross, Blue Shield, or the Anthem, or whatnot. That's the only thing that I have available to me. So I'm stuck. And what you revealed to me is, and this is what I really want you to touch on, you're not trapped. You do have choices. Now, you may not have as much as the larger employers that we were talking about with several hundred.
Correct.
There are quite a few listeners that are contractors that have several hundred employees. But I really want to touch on those smaller entrepreneurs, because I think that they're not being served as well as they could be, mainly because they don't know the questions to ask. And you alluded to that you're going to share. And that's what I really want you to hone in on now, those questions that they should be asking their consultant. And if they can't answer, then they probably need to look for another consultant.
Yes. So small group insurance is challenging. And
Yes.
what I would encourage people to do is talk with their advisor. And if they like the advisor and they're getting the answers to the questions, don't go call five advisors. In the small group market, rates are rates. They are based on three things: zip code, gender, date of birth.
Wow. Okay.
So that's it. There are products that are underwritten. The Aetna level funded product is a good plan. It is typically competitive. And level funding is self-funding with a lot of protection wrapped around it to protect a small employer because there's only so much risk to spread around. But if you are running well, then you are keeping some of your unspent claims dollars and you get those back as a credit. And there are several products that work like that. They are medically underwritten, so you can be declined, but they have a robust structure around them. They typically cost a little bit less than fully insured plans. You are committed for the year, but you do keep some of the unspent dollars. And if you spend all the claims dollars, that's okay. The plan has money to cover that. It's
Right.
designed that way. And what we do with a lot of our small employers is we find a level funded product that works for them. And then we wrap around that one of two things: direct primary care. I am a huge fan of direct primary care, and I'll explain what that is in just a second. Or we wrap a subscription urgent care virtual primary care solution around it. Now, that
Hmm.
particular solution is Houston, San Antonio, Austin, headed up to Dallas right now. That is a private company that does wonderful work. And you can walk into their facility. When we wrap this around, you walk into their facility, and anything that they do in their facility for you or your family, if covered under the health insurance plan or not, is covered at 100%. You don't walk out with a bill.
Wow.
And we find the money for that by increasing the deductible. So there's a trade-off,
Hmm.
but those kinds of services will take care of 80 to 90% of what somebody needs. So somebody has the flu, somebody has a cold, somebody has a weird rash, they cut themselves, they broke a minor bone. If your femur is sticking out your leg, go to the emergency room. But, if you've been stung by one bee, you go to urgent care, direct primary care. If you've been stung by a swarm of bees, you go to the emergency room. So scale, right?
Right.
But direct primary care is to me, the way of the future. It is, and the past. It is going back to you have a relationship with a doctor, and direct
Mhm.
primary care is a little bit like concierge care, except those doctors don't take insurance. You pay them a monthly fee, 80, 90, 100, $150, depending on where you are, and you have access to them, typically same day or next day appointments, but you have telephone access,
Mm.
text messaging access, email access. So I have been subject to laryngitis my entire adult life. I've been an adult a long time. I know when I get laryngitis and what has caused it, and I know what I need. I no longer have to wait the average 21 days to get to a doctor. I text my doctor and I say, laryngitis is back. And my prescriptions get called in, and I get a note that says, I called in your prescriptions. Please let me know how you're doing in 48 hours. And if I don't respond in 48
Uh,
hours, I get another message that says, voice back yet? It is care from a person who knows who I am. When I broke my ankle, I had same day care. I got an x-ray, everything got taken care of. That's not unique to me. That is how direct primary care works. It is a fixed cost, and it can take care of 80 to 90% of what somebody needs. And for small employers in particular, it is a great way to help encourage access to care. The other thing that we don't talk about a whole lot is something called a health share. And it is a little bit of a different concept. We have a particular kind of client on this type of plan. And it is basically a group of people who have banded together and agreed to pay each other's medical expenses. It is not insurance. It is
Interesting.
a share, and you pay a fixed premium every month. And then, somebody gets in a car accident, somebody gets cancer, and, somebody needs their gallbladder out. And, whatever things happen,
Right.
the member pays the first amount, just like a deductible, and then the plan pays the rest. Basically, you're a cash pay patient and you're waiting for this money to be reimbursed to you, but it is a way for small employers, particularly when paired with direct primary care, to create a complete benefits package at a much lower cost. Now, there's a lot of questions to ask about that, and we don't have time for that today, but it is something worth asking.
Right. Now, I'd like you to go back on that term. You said it was called level.
Level funded.
Okay. So that was a term that I had never heard and was unfamiliar with. And I'm sure many people listening have never heard that term before. So maybe you can give us a layman's description of what does that mean as
Yeah.
far as a plan. We know what traditional, like we were saying earlier, we know
You know
what the
what
traditional plans
self-funding.
mean, but what is that?
So
Okay.
level funding is a form of self-insurance. So insurance is basically how you manage risk, right? And there's four ways to deal with risk. Transfer it. Okay, that's the most expensive thing to do with it. And that is what you're doing in a fully insured plan. You are transferring your risk from yourself to an insurance company.
Right.
Insurance companies are like the house in Las Vegas. They never lose. It's not their job to lose. So they're going to say, well, we think you're going to spend this much money in claims, and then we're going to add a little bit of padding in there in case we're wrong, and then we're going to add a little bit of profit in there. Okay, so that is,
Yep.
you are simply transferring your risk. You can avoid it, which means you don't offer any benefits at all, which is probably not going to help you from a recruiting and a retention standpoint.
Absolutely, yeah, which is a big problem. So this is why I wanted to have you on the show
Yep,
because benefits and taking care of your people and keeping them
big
healthy
deal.
is a really big deal because we are facing that labor shortage in this industry.
So you can avoid it, which means you are maybe redirecting it, right? You're avoiding a risk by sending it to direct primary care, right? That is a fixed cost. So you are
Hmm.
avoiding this variable cost by moving it over here, or you can mitigate it. Mitigating it is controlling what you pay for things.
Okay.
Okay. So typically you are transferring, that's fully insured, or you're managing your own risk. That's self-insurance. Now, for I think just about every listener on this call, you're never fully self-insured. You always have protection for large claims. That's
Right.
called stop loss or reinsurance.
Got it.
And typically, most people understand that in a self-insured plan, you're paying claims as they come in, right? So there's no claims this month. Next month, we have three medications we need to pay for. Next month, somebody had a heart attack. We need to pay for that. Pay as you go.
Mm,
Level funding is is just taking a self-funded plan and what the maximum costs are and dividing that by 12, and then the employer pays that every month. So on months when there are no claims, they're paying the same thing. And on months when there are more claims, they're still paying the same amount and it levels out over the year. And then
they're
any
the term level funding.
and then any unused dollars should, not always, should remain with you in some format. If that's a premium credit, if that's they stay in your claims bucket and you can use them the next year, you can get them back, whatever the contract says, because there are a zillion contracts and they all say something different.
All right.
But that is a great option for smaller employers who have healthy populations because your insurance premium is has three buckets of cost. It has a
Mm,
reinsurance cost, it has an administrative cost, which is what it costs to run the plan, who's processing the claims, who's managing the pharmacy, yada yada. That's your administrative bucket. And then the third bucket is your claims fund, where your claims get paid from. Every contract has that. It's just a matter of how you benefit from it.
love it. Love it. Well, Al, this topic it's really really deep and wide, but I'm
It
glad that we touched on some of the real key things here because to just know that you have options that you can explore. That's a great
I
feeling
think
as
it's
a
really
business
important.
owner that you're
Yes.
not stuck with the traditional. And it's almost like let's get creative with the way that we look at benefits and healthcare.
I
And
have been asked more pointed questions about what things cost what and why in the last 8 or 9 months than I have in the last very long time.
wow,
And
why do you
and
think that is?
I think that leadership teams, business owners, right, the
Hmm.
person who looks at the invoice,
Sure.
they're the inability to plan for what is going to happen next year is, okay, it's an 8 or 10% rate increase, whatever, maybe we can manage that. But we've seen over the last year 40%, 37, 27, 26, 52, 44. We have one of our new clients, they had a 25% rate increase, a 40% rate increase, and a 25%
Wow.
rate. You simply cannot plan with that.
Right.
Whereas you can get a little more control over it, then you can make better decisions about what happens. And I know that that is an extra thing for somebody to do, but I would encourage business owners not to go, just get that to budget. I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
I would encourage you not to do that.
Okay.
It doesn't serve you in the long run. Now, if you are a high margin SaaS business or a high margin consulting business and your net margins are 40 or 50%, maybe you don't care. But I don't think that most of your audience has
Mm-mm.
that kind of margin.
No, they don't. And it's like, I don't want to cut benefits for my staff because they
Mhm.
just raise things. Or I don't want my staff to have to contribute more out of their paycheck towards the premium. It's
So
like you were
so
saying earlier
our
that, yeah, that good benefits package and lots of options can be an incredible, like you were saying, recruitment and retention tool. And also,
yes,
when people are healthy and they have access to healthcare where
they're more productive.
they're not worried about, oh God, I've got that $500 deductible. Nah, I don't need to go to the doc. What happens to them? They're less productive because they're not taking care of themselves at the beginning. And so who does that hurt? It doesn't really
The
hurt
employer.
them. It hurts the business owner.
Well, it hurts them too. I mean,
It
you
hurts
take
them, but I'm
all
saying
the,
on a monetary basis, it
it
really
hurts the
helps the
employer.
business owner. And then if somebody's sick and they feel like they can't get health care or they can't stay home, what's going to happen? They've got the flu. They're going to come in and they're going to get the rest of the crew sick. It's kind of like a kid, like round robin from school. Kids are always coming home with something. It's the same when you're working on a field crew or in an office crew. It
It
happens
absolutely
like
is.
round robin. Let's help our people stay healthy because not only are they going to be happier, you're going to be happier as an employee or employer. I'm just an employer.
Yes. And you want to address somebody that has, maybe metabolic syndrome or diabetes. You want that person getting a checkup, right? Because you want to make sure that that's well managed. When high cholesterol, the big three, right? Diabetes, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure, when they're managed, they are not nearly the problem they are when they're not managed.
Mm,
A diabetic person who is not managed can easily not take their $5 a month medication. In fact, I don't even think it's $5 a month. I think it's $2.33 a month medication and be fine. But if they're not, they're going to show up in the emergency room one day with an ulcer on their foot and they're going to spend $40,000 of your money because even if you're fully insured, your premium is your money.
that's a good way of looking at it too. So, Allison, for those who might be interested in learning more about how to work with a consultant and have more questions, would like to talk to you about options and you helping them find solutions, how can they get in touch with you and learn more?
So I know you'll drop my contact information in and our website in the notes to the show. We have a guide. It's called Instant EBITDA. I think it's very aptly named. When you can pull the waste out of your health insurance budget, that drops right to your bottom line. So if you are a $10 million business and you can pull $100,000 out of your benefits budget, that is $1 million in sales you don't need to find to be
Right.
profitable. So we have a guide that tells people how to do that. We have a documentary that talks about all the waste, fraud, abuse, and how people are abused in healthcare. That's on our website as well. Anybody can come and you do have to put your contact information in, but it's free to watch. And that seems to be very thought-provoking for people, and I would encourage everybody to watch that.
Excellent. And so that website is www.altique, Altique dot. No, I got that wrong. Sorry.
Altique.com.
All
No,
right. Thank you very much. Well, Allison, it has been a delight. Thank you for sharing all of your expertise on this subject with us. And I hope for those of you listening, you got something out of this or is starting to get those wheels turning, thinking about, maybe I should think about some other options for this. And so, with that, again, thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And until next time, keep it flowing. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you're ready to take your marketing to the next level and start increasing sales and opportunities for your business, reach out to us at Creative Raven. We're here to help you thrive in the digital landscape. Visit creativeraven.com or click the link in the show notes below to schedule a call and learn how we can support your growth. If you enjoyed the insights on today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you'll never miss an update. Until next time, keep growing and keep it flowing.